program's all-time leading tackler, 436 total career hits, which is damn impressive when you look at some of the names and some of the national championships in the history with this program. So certainly speaks a lot. Program's leading tackler, second all-time with 10 career interceptions, trailing only one of the Heisman Trophy winners, I'm sorry, in 1946, Glenn Davis up there. He currently is an Associate Athletic Director for Operations, so anything to do with championships and operations of the athletic department, et cetera. But probably his most more rewarding than any of that is what he's done for our country in uniform. And Colonel McElrath, before returning to West Point, was a battalion operations officer, brigade chief of operations and division plans officer for the 4th Infantry Division in Fort Hood, Texas, and in Baghdad, Iraq. So I'll let him tell you a little bit more about that. I'm just kind of giving you the cliff notes here. And also something very proud, and I know he's very proud of, is in his time here, he was in the top 5% of his class at West Point, which is quite an achievement, and was on the Dean's list for 8 consecutive semesters before getting his degree in mechanical engineering, and then subsequent to that, an MBA from Duke University. So pretty impressive. So Colonel McElrath, thank you for doing this.
Oh, no problem. Thanks a lot, Bob. And I really, when Mike asked me to do this, I'm more than happy to do it. I mean, it's a neat opportunity for us, one, to host and to get everyone here and really showcase our academy and talk the things that you guys need to talk about as you're out in the field every day, making things happen for universities. And I mean, we really couldn't do our job in the athletic department without your support. I mean, to have the sponsorships and the things that we need to do to put our athletes in the best situation is extremely vital, as I know as Mike and I have shared many discussions together. But so we really, I speak on behalf of our athletic department, we appreciate the efforts that you guys do for your respective universities every day. So I'm very happy to be here today. I have a couple of notes, and I mean, I'll try to be quick. I would love to have dialogue, and you guys can ask me any questions about the things that I've done. I am partisan to the Penn State folks. I know we have a lot in here. I grew up in Pennsylvania as a huge Penn State fan as a kid. I mean,
Did you know, by the way, that the logo was called the Chipmunk logo?
I didn't know it was called the Chipmunk logo.
I learned it this week.
But my best friend, who was the best man at my wedding, he and I actually played 2 games against one another out here. He was a quarterback for Lafayette when I was a defensive back. He really took it to us our senior year. We beat him, but he threw 4 touchdown passes. I mean, had an amazing game. He was a Patriot League MVP for the season, just ridiculous. He had season tickets, his family, to the Penn State games. And one of the most exciting football games I was ever at was we beat Nebraska in 1982. Yeah. And I think it was Kirk Bowman who caught the tight end. He was from Mechanicsburg. He caught a touchdown pass in the back of the end zone to win the game with like 4 seconds left or something. I also had the opportunity to go to 2 national championship games at Penn State. We lost to Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl 1985. It was a 1985 team. But what I think was unique about that is 15 seniors on that team said, you know what, we're coming back for our 5th year, and we're going to recommit, and we're going to be dedicated, and we're going to get this thing right, even though they had went undefeated the year before but lost the national championship. They ended up doing that, and they beat Miami in the national championship. Vinny Testaverde was a Heisman Trophy winner. They picked off 5 passes. I remember getting this. I was at the time, I want to say, in sophomore in high school. We escaped the security, got on the field, and had this great shot at Pete Giftopoulos, who caught the winning interception, and he has blood all coming down his face. It was just a neat photo as a young kid at the time that I still have. So anyway, what I would like to do, when Mike asked me, I said, what kind of sales experience do I have? I mean, I know that you guys are kind of out there selling stuff and getting sponsorships and doing those sorts of things. I don't have that background. But it's funny, as you think about it, one is a parent of 3 kids, 2 in middle school, 1 in elementary school. But really every day you're selling to them. I mean, you're trying to get buy-in for whatever it is you're trying to teach your children. And the older they get, the more questions they ask and the more they want to know why. So you're constantly trying to sell whatever it is, your ideals, your principles, how you mentor and teach your children. So as a parent, I think we all are, in some sort of way, in sales. As an Army officer, in particular, I'll tell you a couple quick stories about being over in Iraq. I mean, we're really trying to sell from the get-go why we're there. I mean, every day when you're out on the street, you're interacting with people, why are you there? Why are you here in our country in these armored vehicles in my neighborhood? So really every day, from the youngest soldier that's out there to the platoon leaders who graduate from here and immediately shoulder all this responsibility, I mean, you are selling to the people every day. A couple of interactions personally that I had, I was there twice. I was there from November '05 to November '06, and then went back again with the same unit back to Baghdad from November '07 to February '09. The change was unbelievable from the two deployments. The first deployment, the violence was pretty bad. And there was this one area in particular in Baghdad where we were really trying, it was a Sunni-dominated area. Al-Qaeda really had claimed that as their capital within the city. And we were trying to restore those neighborhoods from a number of ways. One, to get the violence down. Two, to get them cleaned up, get water and electricity and all those sorts of things back to the people. Well, we were trying, Baghdad in this particular area was, I mean, they didn't pick up, there was no trash collection, really. I mean, literally what the people did is they would go find an empty lot and that's where they put their trash. So you would drive through these neighborhoods and there's trash everywhere. It was somewhat of a force protection issue for us because they would put improvised explosive devices and roadside bombs in those piles of trash and you can't see it. So we had, one, we wanted to get it cleaned up for our own force protection. Two, we wanted to get it cleaned up for the people who had to live in that every day. They had a waste management facility not even 5 miles from these two neighborhoods, decent sized neighborhoods we were trying to get taken care of. But they had no one to pick up the trash, one, and then they had no one to, they wouldn't go to that collection point, that dump, because it was too dangerous. So we had to sell, one, we had to get contractors, pay people to come in and clean up the trash, was one thing. We had to figure out who was willing to do it, essentially in some cases risk their life to do it. And then we wanted to get that waste management facility operational, but the only way we could get money from the city is if we could show that it was being used and that it was safe to get there, because they didn't want to just pour money into it for no one to use it. So, okay, how are we going to incentivize, how are we going to make this happen? Well, how we ended up doing is once we had the contractors, the only way they got paid is that they took the trash to the dump. So we weren't going to pay them unless they physically got the trash to the dump, and we had a means to track that and make sure we knew who was getting there. Well, the only way they would go there is if the area was secure. So we used Iraqi security forces to secure the route, essentially, to get from the neighborhoods to the dump. And it worked. I mean, the first couple of times it was a little dicey. The contractors didn't want to go. If they didn't go there, they were going 30 miles outside of the city to dump their trash. So the amount that they could actually do, amount of work, it was insignificant. But once we got the system in place, I mean, everything started to click. And we were getting trash out of cities, the neighborhoods are clean, the dump's now working, the city starts to put money into the waste management facility. It was amazing, but it was literally just sales all the time. Trying to get buy-in and trying to convince people that this was the right way to approach this problem, help solve the problem. So those types of experiences that we have, I mean, whether it's with that or whether it's with getting buy-in from a security force to go on a mission and how we're going to do it, I mean, it's all the same thing. I think to be successful in any of those, there's got to be something positive for both sides of the person on both sides of the fence. And if you have buy-in, then you're more likely to take ownership, both parties, to go in and try to be successful. And then I think the last thing, as I was thinking about sales experience, was when I was at grad school at Duke, as Bob mentioned, I had the opportunity to do my internship in Duke's athletic department. And the job in which I was placed into was in the sales and marketing office. And so I'm thinking again at the time, what do I know about sales and marketing? And my job, my mission over the summer was, the football team had lost 24 straight games. Attendance was, I mean, just dropping off significantly. And so my boss said, hey, I want you to develop a group tickets plan for football. I'm thinking, okay, let's figure out how to do this. So the first thing I did was, who is the customer? Who are the people, who are the groups that I think might want to come to Duke football games? The program itself has a very good heritage if you look back over the history of Duke football.